I often tell people that they all have a superpower, and that superpower is called perspective. If your perspective has dexterity while navigating this ocean called life, you will flow, you will smile, and everything that you encounter will build you up to the Superman or Superwoman that you have the capacity to be. Today's episode is growth mindset and the power of perspective and forgiveness.
Hey guys, and welcome to Mika Reacts and Reviews, where we react to things on the internet. And I thought I would do a quick little video. I was just going to turn this into a bit of a short about how to get out of victim mentality and victim culture, because I think there's a lot of that going around lately in every side of the coin, every political spectrum. There's always a subset of people of that group who blames everyone else for their problems, and I think it's just a very defeatist attitude, and it's not really going to do yourself any justice, or it's not going to help your community, your family, society, or the country. But I wanted to actually do a bit of a reaction video to this because I like a lot of what he was saying, and I couldn't condense this 30-minute video down to just 60 seconds. Just to let you know, this is from that channel Skool or whatever. I'll put a link in the video of this guy who's speaking and the link to the channel that he's speaking for, because it's a really good channel and it talks about a lot and it breaks down a lot of things, but it usually uses other people's voices or people who are already well known, like George Carlin or Alan Watts or Dr. Jordan Peterson, to get a point across through illustration. And so this one is called growth mindset or fixed mindset. For me, I saw it more of how to get out of victim culture, how to get out of a victim mindset, and how to take back your power to create the life that you want. Also recently either published a video or I'm about to publish a video about how I think, and a lot of other people feel, that a lot of the destruction of society that we see today is manufactured or by design. And one of the ways I think they keep us sort of suppressed is not suppressed is by demoralization. And I think one of the ways of demoralizing someone is to make it feel like they have no power in their lives. They have no power to fix their lives. They have no power to, pull themselves up by the bootstraps and do what they need to do, again, to create the life they want. A matter of fact, they will tell you, if you tell people of color to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and fly right, straighten up and fly right, that's actually racist or an extension of whiteness, which is kind of weird.
You never blame anyone but yourself for your shortcomings. Fix your shortcomings. Don't just sit in it. That takes a lot of inner work. You need a legit amount of self-awareness, and you need a legit amount of interpersonal intelligence. You need to know who you are. Identify why you're in the very position that you're in. Then identify if that's where you want to be or not. Then identify where you want to be. Then put a plan together on how to get there. According to neuroscience, the brain grows the more that you train it. Nurture, like I said before, is more important than nature. There's a term called neuroplasticity that it basically breaks down how who we are is the sum total of decisions and habits that we make all the time. There are a lot of people who become stuck in their ways. It's by decision, it's not by default. The way an individual perceives the world. Your experiences, your values, and your current state of mind has everything to do with your perspective. When you have a growth mindset, your perspective on what others perceive as a problem is a bit different. What they see as a problem, you see as an opportunity. A problem to those who don't have a growth mindset is an impediment. It's a reason for them to have a bad day. It's a reason for them to be in a bad mood.
If you've made it this far, can you please like, comment, and subscribe? Please donate to my PayPal so I can get a new camera battery, and you can super thanks. If you super thanks, I will mention your comment in the next video. So if you take the ability for people to feel like they have anything or any power to change their lives or better themselves, then it becomes solely dependent on the government. It becomes solely dependent on outside factors to do for them instead of doing for themselves. You see it in the fat positive or the fat acceptance community, where it's nothing they can do to change their life. There's nothing they can do to change their bodies. There's nothing they can do to change their diet. It is fixed. It is who they are. And if you push back against it is fatphobic and racist. If you, again, tell people of color to be responsible, accountable, that you can do anything that your white counterparts can do, meaning you do not need affirmative action, that you don't need the government's overreach to pull you up out of your circumstances or your situation, that you can do it on your own. And I'm not saying like take all social safety nets away, but the way we have it set up now is sort of set in place where people are perpetually dependent on the government or social services or welfare assistance and stuff like that, and it becomes generational, right? Telling women that they're always constantly victims of the patriarchy, or telling men that they're constantly victims of the world, telling women is all because of the patriarchy, right? You know, women blaming men and men blaming women. The younger generation blaming the boomers for global warming, why the younger generation or the newer generation, Gen Z, constantly still participate in the destruction of the planet, right? It's always someone else's fault. It's not nothing I can do about it. And I recently released that short where this woman literally said that your race, your sex, your sexuality really depicts the outcome of your life, meaning you have no power to do anything about it. You have no power to do anything about your circumstances, which is a really sad thing.
In fact, most things are determined by our social and political context. Very little of what we do is in fact a choice.
What you just witnessed is a severe case of perpetual victimhood, but also something called vulnerable narcissism or narcissistic victim syndrome. Either way, whatever it is destructive to the individual, to the people in their lives, and to the communities that they're involved in. If you don't know a lot about my past, I come from a household of severe child abuse, a broken home. I was sexually assaulted, molested. I ran away when I was a teenager. And if this was the tribe that I ran to, I would not be in the place that I am today. If someone taught me that there was nothing I can do about my circumstances because I really don't have any choice because of my past oppression, my sex, or my race, I would have never created the life that I want. If this is someone that you follow or someone like this you follow, find a new mentor. And the thing is like if you care, you know, these white progressives or these wokes who say they care about these communities, you would think that that would be the last thing you tell them, that there's nothing you can do, that your life is just going to be oppressive and there's nothing you can do about it. You think that you would want to give them all the power and a confidence and a self-esteem to gain the tools so they can uplift themselves, right? And so I always just thought that was a strange tactic, and trying to like uplift people of color by telling them like you have no power, you're powerless, you're basically still slaves. And I've always said that I think that the Black community has been duped, but not in a dupe that the wokes and the mainstream media would tell you. I think that we've been duped by trying to keep us in a perpetual state of victimhood or victim mindset or victim culture, and it's spread out to other groups like, again, women or the queer, LGBTQ plus, the fat community, the disabled community. All these communities, is nothing you can do about your circumstances. You are powerless, and we need to enact all these policies to have government overreach to pull you up, and you cannot do it on your own. And I think ultimately that is by design, to keep you suppressed and demoralized. That's it, guys. Perspective is your reality. So if you have a negative perspective on things, then you're gonna have a negative outcome, or that's will at least dictate your behavior going forward. He talks about neuroplasticity and how to change your mindset, like sort of cognitive behavior therapy, which is something that I was doing so many years ago without knowing what it was called, where you make a conscious effort to change your thought patterns, and it really does become easier and easier the more you practice it. And it's these little negative self talks, or this self-talk prophecy of I'm stupid, I'm a loser, I'm not loved, I'll never make it, and we do it all the time in all these little ways. Like if you forget your keys at home, you're like, oh my god, I'm so dumb, why did I keep doing that? And you don't realize that you're speaking those words into you, and your behavior will dictate how you think, right? Thoughts and words have power, in my opinion. And so instead of saying, I'm so stupid, why did I leave my keys at home? Okay, that was a stupid thing I did, but I'm not stupid. Or we all make mistakes. It's not a big deal, right? Something like that. And so he talks some more about that. And I like in the beginning when he talked about sort of their perspective, and he had the illustration of people looking at the mountain and going, oh my God, that's really hard. That's going to be a really hard journey. I won't take it. I'll just stay where I am. I'll just stay stuck. I'm pretty sure the mountain was just a sort of a metaphor, or just trying to create the life you want is really hard, or overcoming barriers, overcoming obstacles, overcoming trauma, overcoming bad childhoods. All of those are really, really difficult. It takes a lifelong of work, and a lot of people just don't do it. Instead of looking at it as this is hard, people, changing your perspective on it, it's like, no, this is an opportunity. This is going to be my life journey, and I'm going to be triumphant in it. Sort of changing your victim mentality to victor mentality. I always said, like, there's two type of people in a world when it comes to perspective, and the illustration in my head that I usually use is like, let's say you're walking down the street and you see a pile of garbage, and then you see a rose kind of coming out the middle of the garbage, right? And one person would see that and be like, oh my God, it's so dirty here. I hate this place. It's so disgusting. I hate living here. My life sucks. And then another person sees it and goes, wow, look how powerful that rose was to blossom and survive, even though it was surrounded by garbage, even though it was suffocated and denied the sun, right? And then third person will recognize the strength of that flower and recognize the opportunity that rose got to now strengthen itself and thrive, because it had to push past the garbage and reach the sun, but also take out the time to resolve the garbage problem that exists, to call the city to get their own hands dirty and to pick up the trash, to create a community effort to clean up the neighborhood, right? And so just to say, you have power to change your perspective on things and to use that change of perspective to make things better. The whole victim mentality, blaming everyone else. I always say, when you blame other people for your failures, you give them the power to change it. Meaning, you will never change, that your circumstances will just stay persistent the way it is. Because if my life is like this because of racism, sexism, phobia, homophobia, whatever, the government, the system, men, women, modern women, all these things, then I'm not going to look at myself and go, what can I do to make my life better? Because my life isn't bad because of something I'm doing. My life is bad because of systems or situations or institutions that's outside of me. So you're giving your power away to change it. And you might very well be a legitimate victim of a circumstances. But instead of continuously blaming your circumstances on your present and your future downfalls, you take the power back and say, what can I do to fix my circumstances? And so you don't ever put your failures on anyone else. And when doing that, you always can take ownership of your achievements. And that also builds yourself up. That builds your self-confidence. You build your self-worth, knowing that you can keep overcoming obstacles in the future. Okay, that's it, guys. Let me know what you think of this video. I'm not trying to become a motivational speaker or a channel, but I do have a testimony. Like, if you guys don't know, like, I grew up in a very abusive household, and abusive, I mean severe abuse in every single way imaginable. I was molested, I was raped, and all those things. Sad story, right? And I ran away when I was a teenager. And I graduated from college. I graduated from high school. I started my own business. I've traveled the world. Well, not the world, but I traveled to many countries. I've lived abroad, and I was my own boss. And I've had hiccups in my journey. That's why I'm back home now with my father. But instead of, like, when I was coming home, and it was a moment where I saw it as a failure, and I decided to change my perspective on my situation and say, no, this is an opportunity. I'm coming home. I get to see my family. I get to see nieces and nephews I haven't met yet. I get to be auntie, and I get to get a job where I can save money so I can put back into a business, so I can go back overseas and thrive even better than I already was. Another person who has a victim mindset would have stayed feeling like a failure, and that feeling like a failure would have kept them from trying again, because, the feeling of failure is terrible. And once people usually feel it, they don't want to feel it again. So in a way of protecting themselves, they just stop trying. So because I have that testimony, and because I have a childhood and other things like, domestic violence and stuff like that, where I'm a prime candidate, but according to society, according to wokes, I'm a prime candidate of being, a Black, single, queer woman who's had child abuse and all that stuff, to stay a victim. And I will be praised and celebrated as a victim, because victim mindset is pushed and celebrated and rewarded in some ways. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really reward the communities that the victim mentality affects. And I think a lot of people do feel that way. I think people of color or queer people, women, feel like if I give into this idea that I'm a victim and I'm oppressed, then I will gain the system somehow, because then the government will enact policies like affirmative action to help lift me up out of my circumstances. But one only thing the government is doing is making sure you stay forever perpetually in their back pocket for generations on end. It doesn't help you at the end. I mean, affirmative action at some point was needed. It's not needed now, and the studies and the data shows that it actually hurts the people that they say is supposed to help. Because again, like Candace Owens said on Dr. Phil, if you artificially place someone in a circumstances that they didn't have the academic knowledge in the first place to be in, they're going to ultimately fail. And again, failure usually stops people from moving forward if they allow it to. And failure usually stops people from trying. Right? And affirmative action stops people for being able to be in those positions with confidence, knowing they were put there because of their own merits and not because of the color of their skin. At the end of the day, practicing victim culture or victimhood isn't really going to help the community in the long run. It just keeps you dependent on big daddy government. Anyway, guys, again, this video was way longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be really short. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get to notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support this channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link. Go subscribe to my travel vlog channel and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.
Why is it so hard for me to be happy? Ava wondered, looking at herself in the mirror. Other people have it figured out. Why can't I? I don't like my job, I don't get along with my family, and I can't find love. Is it me? Am I the problem? Yes, replied her reflection. There is a lot you should be doing that you don't. There is a lot you could be changing, but you won't. This is not what she wanted to hear. How could she be the problem? You don't understand, she stammered. It's not my fault. Things are never easy for me. I always get the raw end of the deal. It doesn't matter. Everybody has it hard. The reflection was stern and determined. You have to find a way to work through it. Ava shook her head. No, you don't understand what I'm going through. You're right. But this reply came from a news source. Startled, she looked around and she saw a different reflection altogether. This girl was smiling warmly back at her, with so much love and concern in her eyes. Nobody understands you, said the reflection. You're incredible, wonderful, beautiful. It isn't your fault that your life is not going your way. Stop blaming yourself and don't let others blame you. I see you for what you are, absolutely perfect. Don't you dare let them change you. Ava was overcome with relief. She would have denied it a moment ago, but this was exactly what she was yearning, aching to hear. But her joy was interrupted. Don't listen to that, called her first reflection. You know I'm telling you the truth. The only path to happiness is to look within and figure out what you could be doing to make your life better. No, Ava said confidently. I don't need to change. Everyone else is the problem, not me. That's right, said her new reflection, and she beckoned her forward. Come, I have so much to show you. And Ava followed eagerly, climbing through to meet her reflection. And suddenly she was surrounded by people, all clamoring to touch her and smiling with enthusiasm. Look, there are so many people that love you for who you are, and they're all just like you. They've been suffering just like you, and they need you. They need your voice. Together, all of you can do so much good for the world. There are far greater issues that need your attention. You're so right. Why am I worrying about what I could change about my life when the world needs me? The other people nodded in agreement and pulled Ava into their ranks, and they all cried out, shaking signs in the air.
Stand up, fight back!